Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Authors on Mission podcast. So here's a question for you. What if I told you that in the time it takes you to listen to this episode, someone somewhere just turned their words into a fortune? While most people struggle to write a single page, our guest today has cracked the code on helping experts generate 8,000 words per hour and transform their knowledge into a multiple seven-figure income stream. Now, Aurora Winter is an MBA award-winning author, serial entrepreneur, and the mastermind that's revolutionizing how experts share their knowledge with the world. Her book, Turn Words into Wealth, didn't just win Outstanding Nonfiction Book of the Year, but became a blueprint for anyone ready to transform their expertise into impact and income. But Aurora did not stop there. She also has some amazing fiction books that are coming out super soon, and so we're very excited for that. So whether you're sitting in a cubicle dreaming of freedom, or you're an expert who knows that you have more to give to the world, get ready because we're in for an amazing episode. Aurora, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be on Authors on a Mission with you, and I look forward to helping the listeners turn their words into wealth.
I like that. Yeah, perfect stuff. Well, let's dive right into it. I have to know, first off, a little bit about you and your life experiences. I mean, you left a TV executive career to become an entrepreneur. So I'm wondering if you could walk us through that change. How did your family react? And ultimately, what led you to put it into words on a page?
I've always been fascinated with writing. I've wanted to be a writer like C.S. Lewis since I was 9 years old. I've kept a journal ever since. And so my life has been a series of entrepreneurial moves and or working in film and television. So I just love helping people create something of value. So I was working in film and television because I thought, hey, the best way to get an idea on the screen is to write a screenplay, but actually the best way is probably to write a book.
Of course. Yeah. Well, hey, you did it. You surely did. And you have an amazing method to share with everybody. In Words 12, for example, you mentioned that stories have 27 times more value than facts alone. That's one of the amazing tips that you provide to us. So would you mind breaking that down for us? So exactly what does that mean?
I think this is something that we as creators of stories can really lean into. So the data shows that people respond about 27 times more to a story than they respond to a data. Some studies say 24 times, some 27 times, but where the 27x value comes from is actually really interesting. There was a book called Significant Objects, and they actually did a test. I was like, proof. And so they put 100 distinct objects on eBay with or without a story, and they even had a little PS being transparent about what they were doing. And these stories were written by 100 different people. Some were professional authors, some were not. And they simply added meaning or significance to the object, not actually value. So for example, if you're selling pot mitts, for example, the person might say, I remember coming home from school and my grandmother used these pot mitts and she'd pull out chocolate chip cookies. And I'd had such a nice time sharing about my day with my grandma with these pot mitts. And then, you buy the pot mitts, you don't get the grandma and you don't get the cookies. But the result was that the objects with a story sold for 27 times more. So I think this is really important for us to know, because sometimes when we try to tighten things as authors or as copywriters, we can tighten the story out of it. And the story is the key part. People remember stories, people repeat stories, people share stories. People don't really do that so much with data. So don't get it so tight that you've lost the story. Be sure to have the story as part of what you're sharing.
Understood. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And the story is what resonates the most. That's how, we get into a book and really connect with it the same way you can connect with the product too. So very important stuff there. I love it.
And I also think in this age of AI, it's more important than ever to remind ourselves and others that it's our own personal stories that have value. So while AI can maybe spin out average words at an incredibly non-average speed, what's unique and special about you is your stories, your perspective, your insights. So let's double down and lean into those.
I love that. Yeah, so that's really incredible, and I agree entirely. Now, one other thing that Turn Words into Wealth really leans into is the idea that thought leaders should write a book. Especially with 75% of Americans shopping on Amazon, that's so many opportunities to have a book and just get your word out there and promote your brand. It's one thing that Authors on Mission actually helps people with. If you have a story to tell, if you're, an entrepreneur, write a book. Why not? So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? And especially with 7 ways to make 7 figures, it's one of your tips that you include in the book. How exactly does a book help us?
Well, I think what's really important to know, especially if you are an expert, a CEO, a thought leader, or a want-to-be thought leader, that you are probably solving a problem. So if you write a nonfiction book with a clear title and subtitle that solves that specific problem, you can reach people around the world within minutes, actually, of publishing your book on Amazon. What's good to notice is that Amazon is actually the #3 search engine. YouTube is the #2 search engine, and Google, I think it's now becoming ChatGPT, is the #1 search engine. But here's what I recommend, and it's what I'm personally doing. So have a book on Amazon, have a book with a clear title like Turn Words into Wealth. That's pretty obvious what it's about. Oh, by the way, people can get the ebook for free at turnwordsintowealth.com, or they can get the print book on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Have a book on Amazon that solves a clear problem so that you can solve that problem. And it acts as a filter, attracting your ideal clients and repelling the people who are not ideal clients, kind of like matchmaking, right? You don't want everybody to come to you. But then once you have your book on Amazon, you will also get reviews on Goodreads. And Goodreads is indexed by ChatGPT and Google. So that gets you on the #1 search engine. And then do things like podcasts, for example, like you're doing, Danielle, to add more content each week to keep your face front and center. So I have a YouTube channel. So I have several YouTube channels, but one is called Strategic Basics, where I take breaking news and turn it into business insights. So that's the 1, 2, 3 strategy that reaches the #1, #2, and #3 search engine. And if you have a book that solves a problem and you have that on Amazon and people get to know you by listening to Danielle's podcast or perhaps coming to my YouTube channel, my experience is that you can charge premium prices, but you will also attract premium clients who really want to work with you. Instead of a race to the bottom just to be the cheapest, you want to position yourself as the best solution, the ideal solution, maybe even the only solution that they will consider.
I love that. And I love how you kind of weaved in the way to get around the new AI algorithms and all that these days. You have to get your name out there, and you'll have it on Goodreads, and the more places your name pops up, the more places that it'll, pop to the top of the search engines because of the new technologies out there today. I'm wondering if you've seen that as a significant shift in the market days. I mean, first we had the pandemic, and that shifted the landscape for thought leaders and authors, and now we have AI coming out. So there's a lot of changes going on. I'm wondering if you'd like to shine a light on that.
Yeah, I think it is. It's either really scary or really exciting time, depending on the minute or how you choose to think about it. I have noticed that even in the last year, the first time I posted content, so for example, for my fantasy series, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, I did a Kickstarter about a year ago, and we posted a bunch of fun AI images because it's a fantasy book on TikTok. And people were like, oh, this is AI. They were like hating on it. And I'm like, whoa, that was intense. Just trying to make this a little bit more fun, guys. But now, a year later, people are much more accepting of AI images. Obviously, you don't want to deceive anyone, but I think AI has crept into even the way we send Gmail or on Word doc. Like, it's everywhere. So what I believe, or how I choose to show up, because I think, as Einstein says, most key decision you make is whether the universe is for you or against you. I'm choosing to think it's for us as human beings. So I'm choosing to lean into where can AI help me? And I suggest that the listeners do the same. Look at the tasks that are really boring or dull or tedious for you and see if you can systematize them and use AI. And the other thing I've noticed in my own business, because I exclusively help thought leaders who are already making a difference make a bigger difference, I was worried like a year ago, oh, is there going to be a drop in my business because people will want to just, use ChatGPT? And I have not found that. I found kind of the opposite in my case. People are hungry for VIP one-on-one attention to tailor their message exactly to meet their goals with somebody who's got experience launching best-selling, award-winning books. So that's what I've seen. What have you seen?
No, I definitely understand this when it comes to writing the book. So a lot of people have been coming up with, more AI generated manuscripts and is making an impact in the world. But I think the most important thing to do is to stay on top of it, which kind of, lends an ear to what you were just saying too. That being said, I'd like to touch a little bit on the writing process, for your own books too. So I'm wondering, what exactly did that look like? I mean, you emphasize that books are not mortal while people are. So how does this perspective influence your approach with writing?
Thanks for asking. I love books. I'm a big book fan. I think books are like seeds, and they can sit on the shelf in the library or on your own personal bookshelf, for years or even decades or even 100 years. And then the book basically germinates when somebody opens it. Right. And then you add your attention, which is like adding water and adding sunshine, and suddenly something beautiful grows. And the ideas that the author had can be absorbed or be welcomed or be challenging to the reader. So I really love the immortality of books. I've been mentored by so many authors who are no longer alive, from C.S. Lewis to Tolkien to Louise Hay. So many people have touched and inspired me. And I really love that about books. So what I do when I help people write books is different from what I do when I write my own books. When I'm writing my own books, so I'm working on the third book in this fantasy series. The first one is Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse. The second one is the Secret Multiverse Academy. And the new one, Multiverse Mayhem, is coming out in August. So hopefully you'll check it out. They are standalone. You can start anywhere you like, but you might want to read them all in order. When I'm writing my own books, I think, how could this book inspire somebody? How could it possibly light some ideas that weren't there before? Like when I was a youth, the Narnia series did for me. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe did for me. When I'm helping other people write books, I try to help them get past their imposter syndrome and the who am I to write a book whole thing, and really lean into what have they learned? What were their greatest ahas? What were their greatest challenges? Basically, what is their hero's journey, and pull out the gold of that. And as you mentioned, by interviewing people, I can get about 8,000 words an hour. And even professional writers don't usually write 8,000 words in a week. Not the old-fashioned way. So, but then of course the words need to be refined and polished and researched. But what's cool is we can take the initial first draft of the video interview, it's like a podcast, and we can chop that into social media to help promote them in their book.
Yeah, I love that you do that. And it also helps by making sure you have the client's voice there, and that you really also understand what makes them tick, because sometimes when somebody's talking, they get more excited about certain things and, not so much about others. So it really also helps drive the book creation too, I'm sure. Kind of just
Exactly
getting to know.
Well, as you may know, most first-time authors spend 3.5 years writing a book, and that's just too long, because then you have to spend another 3.5 years promoting the book. So I'd like to really shorten that period of time, because whatever they're excited about, whatever's alive in them, as I ask questions, it comes to the forefront. Whereas most people who aren't professional writers, they will just write kind of surfacey. But having somebody listen to you deeply brings stories forth that you didn't even know were there. And then I haven't thought about that for years, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it helps you kind of just open up more and think about things that you might not have considered all before. And that helps to open your mind and explore new topics within the book. So it just goes on and on like that.
Exactly right.
Yes. Well, by the way, I don't think we've done it yet. Would you mind presenting the cover of the book to the audience today? It's something that we always like to touch upon and shine a light on the cover itself. It lends a hand to it. Yeah, there it is. I love it.
Here's the cover of Turn Words into Wealth.
Yes.
And it's got a blueprint in the background because the subtitle is blueprint for your business branded book. And of course, it's got a microphone and a pen. And it's got a couple of awards because it won Outstanding Nonfiction Book of the Year when it came out. And it's got a bunch more awards on the back. So I think this is a much better cover, honestly. The fantasy book cover has won awards.
Yeah, well, hey, that's a beautiful way to segue right into that, because that was going to be my next question, to transition a little bit into the fiction realm, literally the realm, being that it's about the multiverse there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's about the multiverse.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's called Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse. The first book, it won Reader's Choice Award, Best Book for Teens, and several other awards. And the second book has a pretty cool cover too. And the third book I don't have yet because it's coming out next month. So this is The Secret Multiverse Academy. And then the third book is called Multiverse Mayhem, and it comes out in August 2025. So I'm super excited about it. So basically, I was so impacted as a child at age about 9, reading the Narnia series, that I decided I would do whatever it took to try to become a great writer like C.S. Lewis. I don't know that I've succeeded in that, but I am very proud of this fantasy trilogy because I think it's like Harry Potter meets Doctor Who. It's fun, it's fast-paced, and yet for those who are willing to look for it, there are deeper themes and there are invitations to consider things more deeply. So when I initially drafted the outline for this series, it was in 2020 when we had the COVID lockdown and all the people getting canceled for just saying, hey, what about science? And I'm like, that's so wrong. So the evil creatures in Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse are censors about censorship. So it's got a little 1984 in it. So the bad guys are really bad. And I wanted people to think about the value of free speech. It's not a preachy book. You can decide whatever you think. But that is the theme that was really important for me to shine a light on. I know a lot of young adult fantasy books, or fantasy books in general, they're just fun, and that's good too. I like reading those books, but I wanted something deeper with the intention that maybe this book would be something parents or teachers would want to talk about with their kids, or maybe, who knows, it will stand the test of time and last and be a book people will read a generation from now.
I think that's incredible, and I like that you really are trying to put some meaning behind it. It's a fun book, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's got a lot of, meaningful topics that come across, but also, you pack meaning into those meaningful topics that are relevant today, and that's a great strategy too. And I'm sure, knowing your entrepreneur mindset, you're probably also thinking about the fact that when, parents and teachers can talk about the book, that's more of an audience too, because then the adults are also reading it, and yeah,
exactly.
It's also incredible stuff.
And in Turn Words into Wealth, one of the 7 different ways to make 7 figures with your message is, thinking through monetizing. Besides selling the book itself, what else can you sell? So BBC has expressed interest in a 12-part half-hour series based on that fantasy trilogy. So we'll see if that happens, but that's pretty exciting.
Okay, well, awesome stuff. I love it. I'm wondering if you have a sneak peek of something the audience might want to learn more about within that book when it does come out. What's something that is really going to grab the readers when they start turning the pages?
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard question to answer. Well, in book number 3, I think I have the most kind of a little Twilight Saga-esque energy. There is a very hot vampire, and then there's our adventurer girl. So everybody loves those characters. And then, I don't know if you can even see, but there's a little dog. There's the dog, and she's the only one who can understand the dog. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how to answer that question. But I think if you liked Harry Potter or The Golden Compass or Doctor Who, take a peek.
I love it. I like that you're relating it to a lot of well-known books that are already out there. So fans of those books know now to go to yours and get a taste of another type of book that's very similar. I like that.
Exactly. And you can also go to Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse.com and you can get a free taste.
Oh, well, perfect. That's what I was going to ask too. The next step is to get connected and stay up to date with the book. So that's one of the websites. Are there any other links that perhaps people could use to get in touch with you?
Sure. So Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse.com if you're interested in fantasy. TurnWordsIntoWealth.com will give you the ebook of this book, Turn Words into Wealth, which has 7 different ways to make 7 figures with your book by thinking through what is your offer, what is your monetization strategy. And if people want help with publishing, my publishing page is samepagepublishing.com.
Okay, I love it. Well, everyone, we're going to put the links in the description box of this podcast today, so you can go ahead and click on over and get to know it. Yeah, of course. So that being said, I'm very excited. This has been a wonderful conversation. We touched upon both nonfiction and fiction, which is a bonus here. But I'm wondering if you happen to have any other writing tips to the authors listening to this podcast today, anything that you wish that you knew when you first were getting started that other people might be able to learn from.
Gosh, so many tips. I think one of the things that helps me the most is to have kind of a sacred time that I write and to not wait for the leftover time to write. So I already wrote this morning, like I usually get up, have a cup of coffee, journal for a few minutes, and then I start writing. And I think blocking off time is another key to success. So I like to block off at least an hour, but preferably 90 minutes, and then take a little break, like move, stretch, go for a little walk, and then maybe do another 90-minute block if it's a Saturday or if I don't have a lot of things on my plate. So the other thing I learned is it's very important to separate the creative brain from the nasty editor brain who's like, that's not spelled right, that's a run-on sentence, those verbs doesn't agree with us, whatever. I am best served, and I think it's something worth really leaning into, to have a separate time when you're editing, because the editor brain is so constricting, and you want to invite your creative brain to be playful, to be lighthearted, to play in the sandbox, that it's okay, if the sandcastle is tipping to one side. So that's another thing that has really helped me. The other thing I've learned recently, or I'm learning, I guess, I've written a number of nonfiction books. And the thing that's easier about nonfiction books is you could just add a story to a chapter. It doesn't change the rest of the book. But what I've noticed is I have a bunch of good ideas, when I've already drafted the whole book in a fiction book. And then if I change something on chapter 5, every other chapter may be impacted. So just something to notice. And I guess one other little tip, I am a plotter. So I'm very, I have complicated plots and character arcs. I have all of that figured out in advance, and that's how my brain works. But if you are a plotter like me, also hold that lightly, because you may come across an even better idea, and you usually will if you're open to it, that can improve things.
I love that. And I think these are all incredible tips, especially the ones to separate your writing brain from your editing brain. It's something we all should do. And people always say, just let your ideas flow. There's also the famous Hemingway quote, write drunk, edit sober. So definitely it lends a hand exactly to what you're just saying, though. It makes a lot of sense. So everybody listening today, it's definitely something to hold on to and think about as you move forward.
Do you have another tip to add to this section?
Oh boy, myself. Okay. I'd say one thing that you need to do is, just get started writing. It's one of the most cliche things, but people always put it off, and I'm guilty of it myself. Always ghostwriting for other people, or editing, or helping people build their own brands, just like you were. But you got down and you sat down and you got those books out there because you wanted to be just like C.S. Lewis, and the only way to get there is to start. So I actually am proud to announce today I do have it on my little to get started in my own book. So everyone today should be also keeping that piece of advice to heart. You have to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think just piggybacking on what you're sharing there, Danielle, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
If you are so focused on finishing the book, you may shortcut the creativity, and you may cheat yourself out of the joy of creating.
Yeah, exactly. So there you are. That's all you have to do. Keep it in your heart, because if it's something you want to do, then that's also going to enhance the quality of the book too.
Yeah, and I find it's much easier for me. Like if I write every day, even if I only look at the manuscript for 5 minutes, it keeps alive in me. Whereas if I just wrote on the weekend, it would be like, where was I? Who's this character?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, this has been an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you coming on, and you really did shine a light on a ton of amazing tips for us, be it from brand strategy to writing nonfiction to fiction, and you really do have a passion for this, so that's very clear. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. And to all of our listeners today, Aurora's journey, it just proves that your expertise isn't just valuable, it's essential. Someone out there needs to know what you know, exactly how you know it. So go ahead and write what you know. That's all you can do. Until next time, keep writing, keep sharing, and keep remembering that your voice matters more than you know. This is Authors on Mission, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Have a great day. This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.